Hello and welcome. This is the VCD Roundtable episode number 44, and today's main topic is VMware Cloud Director Availability. While we are doing the live recording still in 2024, you might already be in 2025 until you hear the podcast of it due to the holidays. So pick whatever you want to do, either happy holidays, happy new year, or whatever fits you. So that being said, Matthias, welcome.
Yeah, welcome everyone. Looking forward to this new recording. Sasha.
Yeah, welcome. And yeah, happy holiday, happy new year, whatever.
Yeah, also from my side, happy holidays, happy new year, and welcome to episode 44.
Good. So today's topic was suggested by Sasha. He wanted to talk a bit with all of us about vCloud Director Availability. So give it a go.
Yeah, with the new service provider program starting April last year, so that was announced that the vCDA is only available for disaster recovery for all of the service providers who are using it in the past, who had used it in the past, and that's now changed. And I think it's a good release now that it is again on the price list. So we have it on vCDA. So we have vCDA DR on the price list on the product VMware Live Recovery Protected VM. And I think that's a benefit, a huge benefit for a lot of the service providers, because as we talked with the service providers in the past, they said clearly, hey, we want to start with Cloud Director, we want to start with vCDA, and not only for migration, because for migration only, it was still on the price list available for everyone for free, so you can use it. But now it's there also for DR components. It's a price tag or list price tag of $400 per VM. So it's not cheap, but I think if you have the real scenarios with your customers, you can offer a great benefit to your customers.
Yeah, but such a 400 per year.
Yes.
Yeah.
So every list price on the Broadcom price list for service providers is per year.
But keep in mind it's an add-on, and for add-ons, Broadcom only accepts commits. Or did we get any different information that this one is actually going to be a bit more flexible?
No, it's still on the price list, the pricing footnote that now on demand for add-ons. So that means you need to commit to your add-on, but that also means you get your discounts on the add-on. And
Good.
with the new pricing model that you can only do add-ons or any commit, and also the expand of the commit on a yearly base, so you have to pay yearly upfront.
Okay, so enough of the license talk. What can we use it for?
Yeah, so you are able to use it to do a complete disaster recovery scenario, so that you have, for example, a customer running their complete environment on-prem and only wants to use your data center for the disaster recovery scenarios. And so that means they syncing all of the virtual machines in your data center, and then you can start all of the virtual machines in a case of a disaster.
Okay. I think that's actually, so that's one of the use cases we covered, I think, before already in a previous podcast, the scenario that this is a very common tool for migration services as well, so that customers can actually use it or service providers can use it to onboard customers because it's pretty straightforward. All the end customer needs to deploy, whether it's for migration or for disaster recovery purposes, is to deploy an on-prem appliance, which you then connect to your vCenter, and then off you go. You can then start replicating your virtual machines. You can also move seed data with a hard disk from on-prem to the cloud. So for the bandwidth impaired people, let's call it like that, if they can't actually get their that was not funny, Matthias. That they can actually send in hard disks so that you have the initial seed data on the central system and stuff like that. So those are possibilities to make the overall data movement a bit easier. What you can also do, in the past, that was an extra cost because NSX Layer 2 VPN was an extra feature or was only included in the upper licenses. As we have all of that included now, you can now establish L2 VPNs for your VCDA scenarios, more or less included. So that gives you also the ability, if you do a step-by-step migration of a customer, to establish Layer 2 VPN with the help of VCDA, and then actually move VM by VM over, and then finally switch over central routing and things like that. So this is still, from a migration perspective, a very attractive solution. When we look at the architecture, you don't need any additional VPN or stuff like that. All of that comes out of the box. The initial setup, I would say, is not necessarily 100% straightforward. There are a few hiccups here and there, which you need to master, to work around when it comes down to licensing, certificate changes, and stuff like that. You really need to think about all the different components and bits and pieces of the system, which not always that, let's say, intuitive from that perspective, but it gives you that capability as well. So that is, from an overall setup perspective, pretty easy. You have different components: the tunnel, the manager, and the replication services. Replication services are required per cluster so that you establish them. But overall, it's a pretty straightforward and simple design from that perspective. Anything you want to add, Matthias?
Yeah, a few thoughts from my side, because more from a technical perspective. The first, what I would advise, if you are talking about the replication appliance, which provides a replication service per cluster, please make sure that that virtual machine has enough CPU resources. So because of the 3 virtual machines we have, the replication appliance is the one really consuming tons and tons and tons of CPU cycles. So either make sure the virtual machine has a high priority in terms of shares, or even reserve the CPUs for that VM, because otherwise you will have a big or a massive performance impact, resulting in customers complaining about, I tried to replicate my virtual machines, but it takes ages. Another, from a technical standpoint of view, topic I would like to cover is not the replication bit, it's more the cloud to cloud bit, because you can use VCDA to replicate or migrate workloads between cloud infrastructures. I think that's interesting for our CSP folks running multiple VCD instances, or even a single VCD instance with multiple data centers spread across a certain area. If you replicate VMs, and I'm now skipping virtual machines because that topic is not related to VMs, it's a VM specific topic. Not all VM properties are replicated. So before starting that game, you need to test if all the features you're using within the VMs are replicated. So my main thoughts are like VM edges. VM edges are not replicated. It's an issue sometimes. So you need to have an automation in place, or even if the automation is called Sasha, who tracks down the changes and configures it manually. No. Another important topic is that specific VM network configurations are not replicated. And one of the biggest bugger is the guest VLAN allowed flag. If you have VM networks with the guest VLAN allowed flag, this flag is not replicated. I know it's just a minor setting, but it could cause major issues. So before doing the cloud-to-cloud build and dealing with VApps, test all the features you're using. Otherwise, you might end up in hours and hours of troubleshooting.
But you like hours and hours of troubleshooting.
Yes, I know.
You get what you asked for.
Don't get it wrong. So vCDA is a great product if you know to deal with it. The logs are pretty good because they tell you exactly what the issue is. And you need to get used of the vCDA product behavior itself. If we're now changing topics again, so you deploy vCDA, you deploy all the virtual machines you need at the service provider side, maybe at the customer side, wherever. But especially on the CSP side, please stick with the deploy order from the documentation. Otherwise, it's not working. It's that simple. You need to get used how to handle the certificates. So because you need to start with the replication. It's not the it's a replication manager appliance, and then you trust the certificates from Cloud Director, from the vCenters. So because vCDA relies on the SSO of the vCenter. So you need to trust all the certificates, and you add the replication appliance. You need to do the exact same thing on the replication appliance. Then you deploy the tunnel appliances, one or many. You need to do the exact same thing on the tunnel appliances, and accept the certificates, vice versa, back and forth. And you need to get used to that procedure, because as soon as you change a certificate somewhere, like in the vCenter, because it just expired, that simple. You need to start over and over and over trusting certificates. It's a lot easier if you use a proper PKI, because then it's implicitly trusted. If you trust the root, it's easier to handle. So the certificates are challenging, but you get used to it. But that's what I meant with the log files. If vCDA is not working for any reason, so something got disconnected, and you look into the log files, it tells you exactly which certificate is not working anymore and which connection is not trusted. And the biggest issue in the game is still the vCenter SSO connection. If this one is not working, it's not really telling you what is not working, but it's just vCDA refuses to do anything. So the log files are key. And of course, the NAT rule. If you remember playing around with the NAT rule for the tunnel appliance, if the NAT is not in place, you can't get a replication up and running. Even though if you use it on-prem, you kind of build a fake NAT rule to tease something and get vCDA up and running, because that is something which is key, at least currently. So you can work around that. So these are just some technical insights. But so on the other hand, if you use it within your own infrastructure, it's no big deal having a throughput of like 10 gigabits in vCDA. It just consumes all the CPUs it has, but it's doing 10 gigabits because we have just 10 gigabits at some point. But maybe it could do even more, but that's pretty cool. And of course, it's just integrated into the Cloud Director UI. You just click on more, go to vCDA, and configure outgoing, incoming replication, whatever you need. So from a user perspective, it's simple, it's integrated, and it's straightforward. And you know exactly what you're doing as a user. Like, am I trying to migrate a workload, or is my intention to create a disaster recovery replication, including RPO, RTO? What's the sync interval? As Yves already mentioned, like some bandwidth throttling, whatever is needed. So it's simple, it's straightforward. There is no need for a CSP to write like pages and pages and pages of instructions for their customers to reduce support tickets and questions like, oh, how am I using the product and stuff like this. So I still love it. Toby, any thoughts you have?
Yeah, Max, at the underlying infrastructure, as you partially mentioned already, since vCDA is utilizing the same stack like vSphere replication, at the end the replication appliances are some sort of vSphere replication. Please be aware that you need to enable the VM kernel services on your ESXi. Otherwise, you run into the issue that you don't have a replication.
That's a good one.
but also, which is a great one on one hand, because since ages, I think something around 6.5 it have been, vSphere 6.5, we have now also the possibility to enable a vSphere replication dedicated VM kernel board, which also brings me the great opportunity to separate my traffic from my, let's call it front-end network, where really the my VMs have the communication path, so I can really separate also the whole replication traffic. And guys, please have in mind, and this more and more comes into the game with the latest updates from vSphere itself, that the VM kernel adapter has the VM kernel adapter 0 or the management VM kernel adapter really now becomes more and more the limitation of roughly about 400-500 megabit per second, which is a hardcore limit. It's not a limit which is software where we can reconfigure or what you can reconfigure, because now all of the backend services like backup, so the VADB, proxy and stuff like this can now run on dedicated VM kernel adapters. That's more and more the reason why the management VM kernel now has really the bandwidth limit. So please do not utilize the management stack for all of the story. Enable a dedicated VM kernel port for the whole vSphere replication story, and then you get much more performance. And also, as Matthias mentioned, you need to, on one hand, you can work with a CPU reservation, or you to deploy more replication appliances. Depends what your yeah, you can
Tunnel
appliances. Yeah, sorry.
But the replication consumes the CPU. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, yeah, if you have many sessions to your customers on-prem, for example, Toby, that's true. If you have many sessions, please deploy more tunnel appliances. And the tunnel appliances also supports an HA configuration. Right? So I think that's also very interesting. If you lose an ESXi, or if you lose an appliance for whatever reason, have at least a second one in place for HA. But I think in that case, you need a load balancer.
You need a load balancer. You need to have a load balancer in front, which is currently still something I can say talking about VCF, we can still utilize the NSX load balancer. If we go with ALB, we can utilize ALB or AVI. Sorry, it's not ALB anymore, it's AVI. And on the other hand, we can also utilize any kind of hardware appliances or hardware load balancer like Fortinet and stuff like this. Talking or utilize this to place it in front of your tunnel appliances, tunnel server appliances. Talking about certificates, you mentioned before, Matthias, there is a solution. It's called VMware Cloud Foundation. And inside Cloud Foundation, we have a proper certificate integration and also certificate exchange or replay stories there. So maybe our service providers should have a look into VCF.
But is VCDA part of VCF?
No, but the certificate in the backend where I connect my VCDA.
Yeah. Okay, you mean using VCF as an intermediate? That makes perfect sense, yeah.
I think, and also, but there I'm not really 100% sure, is VCDA part of the Cloud Provider Lifecycle Manager? I think yes.
I think it's VCP LCM.
VCP LTM, is there VCDA embedded?
Yep.
Then you would also have the perfect solution for replacing certificates on VCD and VCDA on the other hand. So you can also utilize the VMware Cloud Provider Lifecycle Manager. Then you have also there day 2 operations for certificates. I like lifecycle managers. Lifecycle managers are great.
Yeah. So I respect everyone's opinion.
Matthias is not a big fan of automation as long as he hasn't done the automation himself.
That's true. I love automation, and even VCP LCM is a great product, but it still has issues. It's not working as smooth as I would love to have it. Especially the repository management is a PITA. Done it, been there, figured out how it works without any documentation. Sorry to say, but guys, we're honestly speaking over here.
Yeah, I highly recommend for that because it is a little bit tough with the NFS server and stuff like this. But highly recommend the blog post from Thomas Feuter. Thomas is working.
Let's say 80%.
But see, that's
that. But
the good thing. If you are a customer and actually get automation done by Matthias, there are no shortcomings, no hiccups, no nothing with them. They always run 100% perfectly.
Or there is no chance to troubleshoot it yourself at all.
No, that must definitely work easily because, as I learned from you, good code documents itself.
Absolutely.
Dude, we had that discussion on Monday.
Yes.
At least I refused doing a change. That's correct. But at least I added a comment that I did a change and what I changed. So I'm still refusing doing that I did the change, but I commented it. So that's
yeah. I made the comment in your name.
No. No.
So, I think VCDA, coming back to our story, is a valid and good solution. What people should keep in mind also, even though we now have a lot of flexibility when it comes down to restore points for the DR part, this is not replacing a backup solution.
No,
this is not meant to provide you with any kind like application safe backups, application aware backups, or file level recovery, or any of these things. This is just a migration and DR solution. And this is very, very important because if you're solely actually depending on this one, you might get a surprise. If something doesn't work, you always should have a proper backup solution, which typically comes back with the argument from many that you then actually why not have both in one. All of it has advantages and disadvantages. Yes, having backup and DR solution in one solution makes sense to a certain degree. The other way around makes sense as well. In the end, it's up for your specific decision and for your specific use case. You could also have something where you have a local backup somewhere which you have access to, and then you have DR to the cloud, and or vice versa. Those are all possibilities. By the way, you can also, it's not only that you can use this as a DR on-prem to the cloud or cloud to cloud, you could also build DR cloud to on-prem. So if you are moving into the cloud and you want to be sure that at any point in time you could actually reactivate your local data center, you could build it and set it up like that as well, considering that your service provider allows you to. But technically, this is possible. Technically, it would even be possible to do this between service provider. There is just one interface missing for that, which VMware hasn't released or provided up until today. But in theory, you could clearly use this between two cloud providers.
One thing to add, because yes, as you mentioned, there are many solutions available which provide backup and replication also from a cloud provider, cloud director perspective. What I would like to mention here, this is on one hand, from my perspective, a big advantage of vCDA is that vCDA is not relying on any kind of snapshot. So you can do the replication in the direct integrated in the stack. So you don't need to utilize any kind of snapshot technology or any kind of snapshot on your virtual machines, which is a big advantage compared to other third-party solutions.
On the source side.
On the source side, yeah.
Target side is snapshots. I just wanted to be sure.
Yeah, but I care about the source side because still, also with the improvement of vSAN and VMFS 6 and vVols and stuff like this, we still see or we still know that snapshots can sometimes be a little bit of a pain regarding to performance.
And before we come to an end, we still make to announce a change. Guys, it was wrong. So vCDA is not part of VCP LCM.
Okay.
So to say, vCDA is standalone. It's not part of SDDC Manager. It's not part of VCP LCM. So vCDA currently has no lifecycle management built around the product. If we say something wrong, we need to change it.
Yeah, but I was actually also of the opinion that it was included and that it would automatically roll out and do certificate management. But so then I'm wrong.
Be so great.
Yeah, I mean I wouldn't, as it's currently not there, it's not going to come anymore. That's the only thing which we can be sure for certain, because with the end of life announcements of VCD and everything else.
But what we've learned is never say never.
Yeah, in this scenario is
all right. Yeah, I heard that before.
No, I mean, it's in the past when we had the ARIA automation story, or back then VCAC to VCD. That those were scenarios where it is different. And as I said already in the videos which we provided to our Challenge Days and Architecture think tank audience in the communities, I would actually bet very well on that that VCD 10.6 is going to be the latest release. We will see just patches. That's it. That's done. That's gone. And I would actually also not 100% sure about all the things on the ARIA automation side, because Broadcom and CA also has an automation platform which has far more deeper integration into many, many other products. But that's a completely different story. But when you look at VCD, I think it's only a question if the timeline is going to stick. But then it's going to go away is very, very clear. The announcement have been very, very clear. Broadcom has been very, very clear towards customers, even some enterprise customers who are using VCD, that they need to start looking into something else because it's going to go away. That is nothing I question at this point in time. So I would clearly take a good bet on that one, that it's only a matter of if it's going to be 27, 26, 28, but it's only a matter if it's going to be 1 or 2 years longer. But that's it.
Yes.
Okie doke.
And then we need a new title for our roundtable as well.
Yeah, for sure. Before we close it, also please be aware that this 31st of December, or already in the past or upcoming, all of the VMware.com links will be decommissioned. So especially tech docs will be not available anymore. There will be also no forwarding. So please change all of your links to techdocs.broadcom.com because the sites will be decommissioned as part of the 31st of December.
Yes. That is so true. And it was at least in OneNote, which I have seen, I'm not sure if you saw the same, Toby, at the same point in time, at least what I saw is Broadcom is going to discontinue all, let's say, end of life, end of service documentation as long as you are not in extended support.
Yes. Yeah.
All knowledge base, all everything. So, for example, if you have vSphere 6.5 extended support, you can still get documentation and knowledge base articles. If you are not in extended support, all of that will be gone as well.
Yeah, will be all gone into internal story, and only if you have acquired external support, you will get still the documentation. So there will be a huge cleanup coming up, or depends when you see the episode. Have been in the last week. So yeah.
But also this is very important for those customers who are still sticking around on old outdated versions. Is like if you were depending on doing your own support because you don't have support or anything like that anymore, be prepared that all of this is going to be a lot more interesting because you will not necessarily get access to the documentations and stuff like that
anymore, and especially the whole and still we know that some guys are still running it. The whole NSX vSphere story is also now gone. Now it is gone. This or has gone. Depend when you see the episode. So there will be no download anymore. There will be no documentation anymore for NSX for vSphere. So this is also something which has been changed with the 31st of December.
Mm-hmm. Good. Any other final words, Matthias?
We still love certificates.
You are the expert for certificates.
No, I'm not. I just love them. Not
if you have any questions, I think you're also
I'm the expert drawing 3 red perpendicular lines with transparent ink.
Yes. I think you're internally also marked for the holidays. Any issues with certificates will actually be escalated to you.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm so looking forward to it.
Sasha, take him for that one. I'm pretty sure you will find something on the...
Of course there will be something. It's always the same.
Sasha, final words?
Yeah, take a look at vCDA. Maybe it's a good opportunity for you and your customers to grow a bit of your business. And if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. Toby.
Yeah, thanks for listening. As Sasha mentioned, have a look into vCDA. Yeah, that's it from my side for episode 44. Yves?
Yeah, thank you all for listening. Thank you for 2024 for all the ones who have been live listening or later on listening into the podcast. As the team gets together for our ComDivision kickoff in 2025, we will also revisit the format of this one and actually see how we can make this more interesting. There have been already a few ideas been submitted, how we can actually make this more focused on you, the community. So we are looking forward to that one. Next year is going to be a lot of news around VCF and many other things on how we integrate VCF with VCD still, how the new multi-tenancy for VCF is going to look like, all of these things. So there will be a lot of topics. So I can imagine that we might even have more than just 1 or 2 episodes per month. And we try to build at the beginning of the year maybe a schedule with dates already so that it's easier for you. to follow in live. Thank you all for listening. If you're listening in live or before the holidays, have a wonderful holidays and a great start into 2025. And if not, still, Happy New Year.
You.
Bye.